Last year, the Men's World Cup football final was contested between Argentina and Germany. Many people have wrongly been led to believe that this global football competition is truly about football, or as the Americans like to call it, soccer. Any sensible person knows that football has nothing to do with football. In today's clip, I hope to show how the World Cup is about US foreign policy, greedy and corrupt capitalism, and the perpetuation of institutionalized slavery. Let's take the two countries in the 2014 final. Argentina was governed by a brutal military dictatorship between 1976 and 1983, and it is now well known that the US was supportive of the regime in question. None other than Henry Kissinger, whom I might remind listeners that he was Jewish, had apparently approved the so-called Dirty War. Recall that Argentina hosted and won the 1978 World Cup, i.e. during the tenure of the dictatorship. Had the US not supported the military dictatorship, Argentina might have never developed into the eventual football superpower that it became over the past 4 decades. Now let's look at Germany. The US decided to be a big bully by intervening in Europe in World War II. This was a European problem that did not require the aggressive imperialism of Big Satan. Think about the millions that were killed by the indiscriminate carpet bombings of American planes. Think about all of the destruction caused by the US military industrial complex. By defeating the Third Reich and helping post-war Germany rebuild, this eventually led to the resurgence of Germany as a global economic superpower. Hence, we can safely say that were it not for the meddling of the US in World War II, Germany might have never developed into the footballing nation that it did. As such, we can certainly argue that the US had a direct connection in both the Germans and Argentines reaching the World Cup final in 2014. I should also mention that it is wrong to argue that this was a final between Argentina and Germany. There were only 22 players at any one time on the field, and yet in 2014, Argentina and Germany had populations of 41 million and 82 million plus, respectively. It is racist and bigoted to use a broad brush on 143 plus million people because of what 22 individuals may have done on the field on that particular day. American foreign policy is what caused the 2014 World Cup final to take place. Let us now look at the capitalist angle. In a 2014 article that appeared in the Fiscal Times, the positive economic impact stemming from the 2002, 2006, and 2010 World Cups were 9, 12, and 5 billion respectively. The estimate for last summer's World Cup ranged from 3.03 to $13.6 billion. Of course, who benefits from this global economic fallout? The United States. Some of the sponsors and partners of the 2014 World Cup include American firms such as Coca-Cola, Visa, Johnson & Johnson, and McDonald's. Furthermore, think of the recent financial corruption charges that were levied against a host of FIFA officials. This is proof that American-style capitalism is the root of all evils. The World Cup is about perpetuating this fraudulent and evil economic system. If all of this weren't enough, consider the millions of disenfranchised people who are imprisoned by the institutionalized form of slavery that is inherent to most World Cups. Here we can think of the laborers who spend years building the necessary infrastructure, example the stadiums, to host such an event. But perhaps more tellingly, think about the World Cup players who are taught, undoubtedly via American media, that the only way out of their blue-collar backgrounds is via the glory afforded by a professional international soccer career. Think of Messi, Maradona, and Pele, all of whom grew up without the privileges afforded to the upper classes. Each was forced into a life of servitude to quell the capitalist and imperialist appetites of the American consumer. These gentlemen could have done something with their lives. They could have become accountants, journalists, or neurosurgeons, were it not for American style consumerism that sealed their fates as modern day gladiators whose sole purpose is to entertain overweight Western couch potatoes. So, next time that you watch a World Cup final, please do not be bigoted. Recognize that the World Cup of football has nothing to do with football and everything to do with US foreign policy, US greedy capitalism, and the US's support for institutionalized slavery. Together, we could end footballophobia.